from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case as NMK presses new charges. Here the news in details. Wonderful people of Biafra, lovers of freedom all over the world, you are welcome once again to Biafra Unite channel /television this very moment. Today's date is 12th of November 2025, and I have breaking information for every one of you listening to my voice right now from wherever you are all over the world. Dear friends and lovers of freedom, I want you to pay very good attention to this very news because it's very, very important. I can assure you, my people. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has made a new and great move that could see Justice James OMOTOSHO recuse himself from his case, which is going on at the Federal High Court in Abuja. So without further ado, we are going to be reading this very news from Daily Post Nigeria, and of course, according to their title, they said, Nnamdi Kanu asks Appeal Court to stop Federal High Court from delivering judgment on terrorism charges against him. You can see the date published on November 12th, 2025. Recall that yesterday I gave you the news that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has gone to Supreme Court, asking Supreme Court to not only to halt the so-called judgment, because you see James OMOTOSHO is in a hurry. He want to jail Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He want to illegally jail Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. He wants to do the bidding of Fulani, because this is the same man that Fulani is used to put Hope Uzodinma as the governor of Imo State, illegally and illegitimately. Whereas the winner of that election, NMK, was the man that the people of Imo State chose to be their leader. But because of the greediness of APC and their quest to hijack Imo State, because when I say Imo State, I'm talking about the old Imo State under Nigeria. So the APC wants to hijack Imo by all means, because they know that old Imo, is very, very critical and vital to whatever they want to achieve in Igbo land. Are you talking about resources? Imo State have it. In the entire Igbo land, you cannot find any other state the way it's structured by Nigerian state. You can't find any other state in the entire Igbo land that possess more resources, both mineral and solid resources, than Imo State. It is very, very open. So, because of their greediness and quest for power, they used OMOTOSHO to install an illegitimate governor in Imo State. That is the same man they want to use to convict an innocent man, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has seen it already. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has seen it coming. That's why he's making all these moves you see. So Supreme Court has his case, and now we are giving you another information from our Appeal Court. So pay attention as we read the news in details. The Biafra Nation agitator Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has asked the Court of Appeal in Abuja to stop the Federal High Court from delivering judgment in the terrorism charges brought against him by the federal government. Judgment in the terrorism charges filed since 2015 has been scheduled for delivery on November 20 by Justice James OMOTOSHO of the Federal High Court in Abuja. However, Kanu, in a fresh motion on notice he has just filed, is praying the Court of Appeal to stop the High Court from further proceedings in the charges against him. Remember what I told you, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has already seen it coming. You can't tell him any other thing. He knows the moves of the Fulani-controlled federal government, which Tinubu is a poster boy. He also knows what Justice James OMOTOSHO is cooking. You know, when you put that justice there, it looks as if there is anything that has to do with justice with the man. This is a man that Nigeria government under APC has used to commit a very strong and heinous crime in Imo State. I'm not even talking about the ones that I didn't know. But based on the one we know, we already know the modus of operandi. We already know his antecedents. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is fully aware of this. Now, his new motion is predicted on the ground that he has filed a notice of appeal against the September 26 ruling of Justice OMOTOSHO, which dismissed his no-case submission and ordered him to defend the terrorism allegations against him. Kanu, the self-acclaimed leader of the indigenous people of they have started again. Daily Post, you people have started again. Imagine what they wrote here. Look at what they wrote. I'm not going to read it for them. Kanu is contending that the Federal High Court was wrong in dismissing his no-case submission without addressing the issues of jurisdiction and the validity of the charges he raised. You see? Justice James OMOTOSHO is waving away the issues of jurisdiction, which the appeal court said that for the fact that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped and renditioned to the zoo based on the conditions of his appearance in Nigeria, which amounts to extraordinary rendition. There is no court in Nigeria, be it appeal court, be it Supreme Court, be it Federal High Court, be it higher or lower court in the entire Nigeria, has the jurisdiction to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because the state has committed a crime already against him. Now, James OMOTOSHO is paying blind eyes to this reality that hinders any further trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu on this very case. You see? But believe you me, their plan has already failed. Among others, he argued that the lower court was wrong in upholding the charges because the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act had been repealed, and therefore there were no valid charges against him. That is another problem. The basis in which Justice James OMOTOSHO is using to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is no longer in existence because that very law has been repealed. It is now invalid. But James OMOTOSHO, because of his criminal tendencies, because of his criminal activities, because of his evil plans against Igbo, he doesn't want to listen or even pay attention to the realities on ground, to the Constitution that prohibits him from standing or trying Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, given the situation in which Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was brought back to Nigeria. James OMOTOSHO doesn't want to pay attention to all this because he is a money monger. Whatever you see him doing, he's not doing it for free. He's a money monger and power monger. He wants to belong. Now, he also maintained that the constitutional issue of jurisdiction was not addressed by the judge in the considered ruling on the no-case submission. The ground of the motion was that James OMOTOSHO did not evaluate the evidence of the prosecution witnesses and the cross-examination to determine whether the adduced evidence had been discredited. That he sought to call 23 witnesses only when the issue of jurisdiction had been determined, but the court refused to do so, stating that such would be done in the final judgment. In the final judgment, when he has already made a pronouncement, right? And remember, the one that Nigeria will obey. The pronouncement, the one that Nigeria government will obey. You understand the game? Now that the judge foreclosed his right to defend himself from the charges while refusing to rule on his objections to the validity of some of the counts in the charges. Kanu said that if his request to stop the judgment delivery was not granted by the Court of Appeal, he might be unlawfully convicted and sentenced to jail. You see, let me take that again. Very, very vital. Kanu said that if his request to stop the judgment delivery was not granted by the Court of Appeal, he might be unlawfully convicted and sentenced to jail. That is the key, and that the federal government of Nigeria, controlled by Fulani. Besides, he feared that if the November 20th judgment is delivered, His appeal against the no-case submission would become merely academic, and a fait accompli would therefore be foisted on the Court of Appeal. The Biafra national agitator submitted that neither he nor the Federal High Court would be prejudiced if the application is granted. In a 13-paragraph affidavit in support of the motion, Kanu raised the issue of disobedience to Supreme Court order on the validity of Count 7 in the charges against him and the failure to apply the mandatory test under Section 303 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, ACJA 2015. According to him, the Supreme Court made it clear that Count 7 was no longer an offense in the zoo, having been allegedly repealed. In the affidavit he personally deposed to, he said that his pending appeal against the no-case submission raised substantial, recondite, and constitutional issues of law. He specifically averred that counts 1 to 6 in the charges against him were predicted on a repealed statute, and hence there were no valid charges against him. Meanwhile, no date has been fixed for the hearing of the motion on notice by the Court of Appeal. So, of course, I don't have much to say here because this is very, very clear, right? I'm very, very sure that it's very, very open to everybody, to all people now to see what is happening and what is about to happen, right? And the reason why this nonsense is going on is because of the greediness and the evil that those who call themselves Biafra agitators brought into this very struggle. The moment Mazi Samanepa was arrested in Finland, Nigeria government, in fact, this is the time, all of you, Ndibo, Onunchani ne, Ana Gwagine Fisi Paka, you see, we die here. We die here. Onunchani ne, that allowed yourselves to be used against your own freedom. You are paying attention and listening to criminals that infiltrated this very struggle from the time that Mazi Samanepa brought them into the struggle without knowing their mission. You people, Igbo Nwabundi Igbo, ana agwage sigi nekwe simba no iba na America gimma. Where that we need more. You will go NATO for your own destruction. You are contributing money and donating money to your own ruins. Ose tigon. Okwangwale na ajujo. Gazie gwande awe na aturu ego. Gwazie ndi awe na aturu ego kwelu gi nkwa na anụrụ ọgụ nwere onwe gwa na ọ ga-elugo. Because the Nigeria government has an idea of what Biafra army is capable of doing, they can never play with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It's not possible. They can never, even though our PM is not around, if they are feeling the heat all this while, they can never joke with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But what did they do? They even coming on air to slander Biafra Liberation Army, call General Gento all manner of names, call Igwe Butus all manner of names, call them criminals, call them Undinato Mado, call them all manner of names. And I could have ride on. Ride on. O say Tigun, Urugono Mume, Onogakwana comment section at Ariamu, or the okay.